The world of work has changed forever. Old rules of efficiency and control are being replaced by agility, trust, and adaptability. But are you keeping up? In our very first episode, these are Stefan and Karin from Two Step, explore why the new age of work requires a radical shift in how we lead, collaborate, and implement strategy. Let's dive in.
Karin, don't you think this first episode of our podcast, after being like 10 years management consultants and doing all the job, now after 10 years we produce our first podcast and we're almost aware that this will be the shitty first draft. What do you think?
I would have never thought to come to this point. I've never seen myself as like a producer of stuff, being more like in the background, doing what I enjoy. But the times have changed, so here we are. Hello, podcast world.
Here we are. No, that's good. I'd love to talk about this. I think it's a good format for us to share how we see the world, and also with our audience, with our clients. And today we have this topic around the future of work. And since I've met you, you're super passionate about this, and we are defining what we are doing for our clients. But can you give our audience a little bit of a view what the future of work is for you?
I can, and I would go even further and say, for me, the future of work is already here. We are living it right now. So let's come back to your point. Okay, what is it then about? So when I started to join the world of work, it was different than the reality we live in today. And it will be different already again, let's say 2 years from now. So now we're faced with the advances of AI, and we see this is heavily changing how we work together, the amount of outputs that we create, the time it needs to create them. Maybe if we speak in a year, we will not even be present in the same room anymore, but maybe have AI characters or avatars that talk about stuff, and it will not be our own original words, but something they came up with. I don't know. So what I want to say is that it's the world is moving faster and faster. So when my father, he's now retired, but during his career he was in one job. He worked for one company from beginning to the finish line. This is unthinkable in today's world. I cannot even tell you what I will be doing, what job I will have in the next 5 to 10 years. Because the more jobs are emerging, and I cannot tell you what my daughter will become one day, if the job is already invented that she will take. I can only say for certain that changing times are a constant, and it will not slow down. It will not go away. What we see is that we as people are not really made for that speed. And we see that there's a lot of need to slow down and step back. We see that in movements like where they have like retreats where you go without your smartphones, without being connected. People that try to take out some speed and with yoga or whatever, with meditation and stuff. We see that people try to cope with the speed. And we see that it's necessary to create a holistic picture of how we work, and that we don't forget the human factor in it. And I think that's central, and that should be the core piece.
I think the human factor will always be there. I mean, that's my hypothesis for the next couple of years. Okay, we will take AI and we will create better worlds with AI, hopefully. We use the technology, but we still will work with people. And when you say, like just yesterday, we need to take out the pace a little bit, or we need to see what is our baseline. I just had a discussion yesterday with one of our clients, and she basically said, everything is so fast-paced, but what have we done in the past? What is our foundation? Like, can we slow down a little bit, get some direction, see where our value add is before we move to this? And because we have always, like, when you open LinkedIn, like, everything is this, AI will replace our job. This is like this fear-based view of the world, but it's also an opportunity for us to to see and to brainstorm what we can do.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think what we all see is change fatigue, and it's a real thing. So I cannot tell you how many times the organizational structures have changed from the companies that we've worked with.
Yeah.
There are always trends emerging, like whether it will be, oh no, we all have to create now teal organizations, we have to move away from management layers, we have to step away from hierarchical structures, or whatever it is. There are trends, and that lead to organizations being restructured. And then they see, this is not the goal that was promised. Let's try again, try something else. So I think that's good on one hand to have this experimentation phase, see what works, and then do something else. But the price we pay for it is, of course, we lose some stability, we lose some constant elements in it, and this trains people. It trains energy to change all the time. So what I want to say is that we shouldn't forget that this is real, change fatigue is real, and what we should give people is some stability in the form of, let it be a fixed star, a purpose, or a strategy that is not changing every other year.
Yeah, I think you're touching on a good point. I mean, we see this when we work with clients, we have a lot of transformation coming, like every year or every 2 years there's a transformation. And people get tired of it and they're like, but I want to execute my job, but I have to wait until the new management team is forming, for example, right? Yeah. So we can give them, like Vera Birkenbiel would say, like the North Star. We give them like something which will not change, the values will not change, the core products will not change maybe. But on the other hand, also we want to give people the skill set to cope with this change, right? I mean, you mentioned your daughter and that she will, Mia, I love her. She will basically not go to one job and have it until the rest of the year, her life, right? But how will you prepare her as a mom for this world? Because sometimes I hear people say, I don't want to have kids in this world, it's too complex, there's a lot of things politically going on. What do you think? How do you prepare her for this VUCA world?
Yeah, well, it's my first child, so it's all experimentation as well.
Okay.
So, but for me, what I think is crucial is not determining her path for her. So giving her as many opportunities as possible, and basically letting her find her own interests, letting her be guided by what inspires her, what does she want to move into deeper. But also then, yeah, I have to say I have some expectations. I expect her to go the way and try some stuff out and not be paralyzed by all the opportunities that she has. Because that's what I have seen in my generation. I was on a Catholic girls' school, and we were told all the while, hey, you can become everything you want. You just need to pour your heart in it and do the work, but you can become everything you want. And for me, this was like kindling to a fire. This was really what ignited me and what shaped my mindset and what drove me to also go then into the tech world, which was mainly, or still is mainly male dominated, and follow what I thought was interesting and what I liked. But for many of my friends, it was paralyzing. This thought that, okay, there are 1,000 things I could do, 1,000 things that interest me. What should I do now? And it paralyzed them in a way. And yeah, that's what I hope that Mia won't do. That's what I hope that I will push her into, just experimenting, try something out. I don't care if that's what you end up with. Yeah. If you want to say you want to be a doctor, okay, then do the med school, try it out. If you find, no, it wasn't the right thing, okay, do the next thing. Yeah. Find your way, but don't get paralyzed.
Take a decision, learn from the decision, decision and change, yeah. And actually, to be honest, like, we're also good friends. We're not only business partners, we know each other for more than 10 years now. And you did this with me too, like, Stefan, I was in this paralyzed state for a while, not professionally, but more on the private side. And I really love that you just give me the room to, like, hey, experiment. No judgment also, you can fail, but you get up and you decide, and it's better than to stay in the non-decision zone, right? So you're saying also, does this apply for in the work world too? Like as a leader, would you say it's similar, that you give your team the similar freedom?
Yeah, I think one of the characteristics of the future of work is that we drive experiments as the baseline, and there's the right to fail. So you're not fired if an experiment fails, and if you see, okay, no, that was shit what we've done, we've basically wasted resources, then pivot and try again. And I think that's something that we're in the middle. What we see that many companies are not doing till the end. They propagate that, we have safe spaces, we have psychological safety, you can be yourselves at work, and if something fails, don't worry, just tell us. And then we see on the other hand, as soon as something fails, either someone jumps in and takes away their power again, says, no, you're not capable of doing that, I'm doing it again. Or we see people are even further than even are fired for their mistakes. So it's not a learning culture that is really what we need today, and which we really need to embrace. It's like learning from the mistakes and then having the courage to go on.
And I also feel that it's not also getting fired, but getting the power gets taken away when you do a mistake. Because sometimes when we talk about this learning culture, people go into this extreme modus. Okay, I will be fired if I don't do this, but maybe it's okay, leaders will not listen to you anymore. That's what I experienced in the last couple of weeks, is leaders stop listening because, they lost the contact. As you say, they step in, they overcorrect, right? And then suddenly the whole team loses their motivation, loses their trust in their leader, and vice versa. And then that's even worse than quitting or getting fired, because you're still in a job and you cannot do anything. You feel stuck, right?
Yeah. So you're referring to quiet quitting.
It's quiet quitting, but it's not even quiet quitting from only the employee or the team member, but also from the leader. They kind of give up on the team or on the individual people. And then you create a situation that's very awkward, where you're like, okay, no, you can decide, but actually they cannot decide because they don't get an ear from their leaders.
No, I think what you're touching on is a key point. You don't want to have people that just stay in the company because, it's quite fine here. You want people that are passionate about their jobs, that come to work and really, hey, I had an idea last night, why don't we try this out that way? You want really to have the best of people and their whole brains and hearts in it. So the question is not how good are your retention rates, how long do your employees stay? The question is, how engaged are they? How high is your engagement rate with your people? So, and I think that's what we should measure.
And it's also aspirational, right? If you will never have 100% rate of employees unless you're in a startup with 10 people and they decided that they want to work on this, they give full their heart, and then they will have other problems, right? But it's kind of an aspirational journey. Because sometimes when I hear you talking about it, my body's cringing and I'm feeling like, but not everyone can have this. And there will also be people in the companies and the teams who just want to do their 9-to-5 jobs and they have other important stuff, right? So we have to make that differentiation as well. Yeah,
I totally agree. Yeah, it's not about that you all should be inside your 40-hour week or your 100-hour week, whatever as some people are doing. No, I think it's a question of balance, and that's where we come back to what we talked about in the beginning of finding balance between the speed that we have, between all of that. And I personally believe that you can give your all inside your 40-hour work week and still have your all then, or the rest of your energy for other areas in your life that fulfill you. And I think that's where we also really need balance. It is not right if we see people that spend all of the time, all of the energy for a job, for even if it's their own company.
And you know what's fascinating? I feel that sometimes this stress of being busy and having to work longer hours could be diminished or minimized by setting a clear vision and having this speak up culture and say, I don't know how to do this task. I don't know how to do it. Can you help me? Or I need help on this. Because I observe a lot of people, they do a lot of circles and rounds, to to deliver something, instead of having the conversation with the sponsors and the stakeholders, because they may be afraid that these people will not listen. Maybe they will not listen, right? So it's also linked, everything is linked, as we know right now with the systemic design. It's not one thing here and the other thing will change, but everything is linked, right? So I kind of feel this is important also, that the speak up culture is there, that people can say if something is not working, and then the balance will be restored as well, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of indirect to this linked. I don't know.
Yeah. So what you're talking about is also that politics come into it.
That's true.
Yeah, and expectations. So if you're entrusted with a task from your leader to get something done, of course you're not fine if you just say, okay, I have no clue what I should do. Can you help me?
Exactly.
And that's also not the route to go. But what you should remember is that the task might have been given to you, but you don't have to do it alone.
Yeah,
so I mean, not even Batman operates alone. He has Alfred and Catwoman. So go ahead.
And Robin. You forget Robin.
Yeah, I forgot Robin.
I'm sorry.
So just go ahead, fetch your team, fetch the guys that you trust, and work with them. And also look at what are their strengths, how can you bring in other people's strengths to get a task resolved.
So everything we discussed so far is how we need to operate in this future of work, which is basically the present of work, or the new work, right? So we can conclude that the future of work is here. We're already operating in this environment, but we're still in a state where the organizations kind of not 100% know how to handle it and how to do it, because they have these historic patterns and historic system design where they're like, where they have people operating to compliance, for example. They're not operating, like you say, coming to work and having these open ideas, but they want to check the boxes, basically. So what do you think, like, is the history of the organization, how is it shaping like the way forward into the future? History of the organization,
Yeah, so I believe we have to differentiate between what is going well and what has went well in the past, if this is still serving us.
Mm-hmm.
Because in a lot of cases we are doing stuff because this has worked well before. So it might fail now, but we've seen proven that this was correct, this led to results in the past.
Yeah.
So we should be eyeing critically whether, is this still true? Is it just failing now because of, I don't know? Or has the world changed so much, have the conditions changed in the environment that the past from the past is no longer valid and we need to pivot and find a new one?
Mm-hmm.
And of course, startups do have here an advantage because they don't have the long history and the stuff that they drag with themselves, and they can find their way in the current environment only. But also there is value in the past, in the history.
Yeah.
On one hand, it shapes extremely the culture in the company of how people work together, what they value, how they behave. And you need to understand the history to be a part of the culture.
Mm-hmm.
And we shouldn't forget that not everything that was good. No, sorry. I mean that we can. There is value from the stuff that we've built, and we can see, okay, how can we use it?
But also, you say we cannot accept it that what worked in the past will work now.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so the context is changing, the conditions, as you said, the environment is changing, market is changing,
and our workforce
is changing.
Let's not forget
generation.
My
favorite topic. Yeah.
Let us not forget that the baby boomers are going to be retired in about 5 years, and that's a massive amount of workers.
Yeah.
And then we will have millennials and Gen Z in the workplace, which have very different views of how we should work, what they want to get from work. So there are massive shifts happening right now. And that's what we should see, okay, how do we really want to work together?
I really love this because, I had a couple of conversations with Gen Z in the coaching as well as in private. And I love the learning opportunity here. There's a difference in communication. There will always be a difference between the generations, but there's much more consciousness around how you communicate with each other, like more respectful, etc. I would put that on the positive side, but there's also on a not negative side, but to developed side is, as you say, there's a lot of opportunities. What do I do? How do I decide? How do I stick at least for a while for one path? So what I'm saying is we can learn from each other, but we have to integrate what their needs are as well. And I hear from a lot of people that Generation Z is lazy or they don't want to work, but I think it's not true. I think they want to have purpose in their work and they want to contribute to something. And what we discussed before, that the company is creating this environment of purpose, of meaning, etc. And that's our vision too, right? To create meaningful work environments. It will attract these talents, hopefully naturally. Of course, you have to do talent attraction, etc. But it speaks for itself, kind of. And we have to do an integration of the past, of people who are there, and we should not see it as two sides of a coin. We should see it as the same side of a coin, but integrated.
Yeah, and also I think it's a great opportunity to really come together and redefine, okay, what do we value in working together?
Yeah.
What do every one of us who are part of the team, what should be our company values? What do we mean by it? Really be specific. Yeah. What are the practices that we establish deriving from it? And really making it part of everyday life. I'm not talking about, let's do a values workshop and then we will have 5 values or whatever. We will create a poster and pin it to the wall and that's it. No, that's where the work starts. It's not where it stops.
I think it's valuable to do these workshops, and we love to do these workshops. But we also realized in the last couple of years when founding Two-Step that if we stop there, kind of our value diminishes as well. Because we have to create, what you say, the next step, principles, procedures. How does it affect our day-to-day work, and how do we put it into the organization, which is maybe more in the other episode. We're going to talk about strategy, execution, but for today, what you're saying is that it has to go a step further from only defining the values, also what it means for the people. Right?
It's a start point, I would say, and it's a crucial start point, which should be taken to be clear on the values that you want to live. Yeah. And then break it down, make it explicit. Okay, what behaviors do we mean? And what is not okay on the other hand? Yeah. Just make it also easy for people that join later to orient themselves, to be part of the culture. Yeah. And also it's a guideline that you could use also when you're interviewing new people, new hires, to check them against that. Do they share the same values? Yeah. Can they be part of the team?
So now that we've talked a little bit about what new work and future of work is, what is the key for you to new work or to get it started?
In my opinion, it all comes down to teamwork in the end. Yeah. So no matter how you are organized, whether it's traditional departments or you're talking about squads and being more agile, it all comes down to working in teams. So you have to nail the team level. That also means if you look at a leadership team, they are a team as well. Yeah. So create trust in the teams, because trust is the glue behind everything. If you can trust your team members and you know their strengths, know what they're good at, know also what someone else is better at, you're so much faster.
So be aware of the strength.
Exactly.
Of the team, of the gaps. Not just have a group of people that work together, but really be a unit. Be greater than the sum of your parts. And create a cohesion between the team members, right?
Exactly. And of course, what creates trust? People need to know each other. They need to understand their motivations. Yeah. And what is there in the beginning if you meet someone new is always distrust, because the other person is completely alien to you. You don't know them. So that's something that you have to overcome. And this happens over time naturally, but it takes a lot of time. Or you can speed it up if you go, for example, on a team retreat. And I'm not talking about going together in a climbing garden and jumping around, because that's not the natural habitat that your team plays in normally. So if you train to become a team and grow together in a climbing garden, you train to be a strong team in the climbing garden. But that's not where you want to be. So you have to train in your natural environment. What I would really advise the companies to do is take your team on a team retreat and let them work 2 days on one of their most pressing problems. And you all know which problem I'm talking about. The one that keeps coming up again and again. And use the time to work on it and to get to know each other. To really build that trust. And this will bring your productivity so much forwards, so much more. That's an essential step that I would recommend to take.
Okay, yeah, that's good. I think we will have more episodes on trust and team building, etc., because it's such a big and huge topic. Where do you start? What happens if you lose trust? How do you build trust with strangers, as you said? How do you build organizational trust? It's like, I think it can feel a lot. But I think for now we're good for the first topics we have discussed for our first episode of the podcast. Very nice. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Stefan.
Thank you.
It was a very, very nice conversation, as always.
That was our first episode of The Workplace Shift. Are you ready for the future of work? Find it out with our free quiz linked below. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. See you next time.